Did they say
I
that?
thought I did.
No, no.
You moved, I was wondering if there was something personal.
No, gotcha.
Are we
Tell
set?
us, you tell us when.
We're rolling.
Everybody's ready? Everybody's good? Well, good afternoon. Thank you for being here on kind of short notice, but also on an issue that's very important to this community. Obviously, I'm County Executive Anthony Pacenti, joined by the Mayor of the City of Utica, Robert Palmieri, and the CEO and President of the Mohawk Valley Health Systems Network, Scott Para. As you're aware, we traveled to Albany County, at least the Mayor and I did, along with the Senator Joe Griffo and Assemblyman Anthony Brindisi to discuss the issue of funding and project the new hospital for the City of Utica for Mohawk Valley Health Systems. And we left that meeting shortly after about an hour and a half, meeting with the top staff of the Governor's Office, the Director of State Operations, the Deputy Secretary for Health, and the New York State Budget Director for the Governor, with a strong commitment, a consistent commitment, a reinforced commitment to build a new hospital. And asked about that, and we will answer questions. I just wanted to put out there that we are very encouraged and very encouraged and confident, and have no other reason to believe that the state is not committing $300 million to this project. We explained in detail the best we could what has been done to date. We're having meetings in the subsequent days and weeks with the Department of Health, with Mr. Perry and other executives from his team, along with the Governor's team, to move this project forward. But we have a sound commitment from the Governor and his staff that they are committed to this project. Now, a lot of questions about that, and we'll get to those, but this issue is very important to us. It's important to the community as a whole, but it's important as I stand here as County Executive, and I know the Mayor as well. I'll let the Mayor say a few words, and then we'll take some questions. Mayor?
Again, I think the County Executive really highlighted all the components of why we were there today. And I think the overwhelming feeling leaving there was a better feeling that we've had since even they allocated the money initially. It was a commitment from the Governor's office that they are committed to the project. And dollars and cents is the project. And it's committed to, obviously, the state-of-the-art hospital downtown. So I guess when we left there, all of us, we felt very much encouraged that the fact that this is a doable project that the Governor has put in the forefront. And anytime you go into a budget process, there are certain things that transpire. The commitment is going to be given by the Governor, staff, and moving forward at this point. So I think for Oneida County, for the greater city of Utica, I think this is a great day moving forward. It fulfills all the obligations that we feel the Governor has put forth. And again, a state-of-the-art hospital in our downtown area is something that's going to be very real and very achievable.
Thank you, Tony. So, first of all, on behalf of Mohawk Valley Health System, I'd like to thank County Executive and the Mayor and Senator Joe Griffo. They've really been working together on this whole thing for really a year or more. And when we all found out last week, when the Governor's budget was released, that the $300 million was not specifically in there for the new hospital, I can't tell you how quickly everyone responded to that and started working on it and making phone calls and getting the meeting set up that they attended today. And so, we wouldn't be here right now if it wasn't for all the hard work and the coming together, regardless of the political sides of the aisle, if you will. With all of our local elected officials certainly understand that. We're certainly ready, willing, and able to move forward with this project once we work out some more details with the state. And so, we'll certainly be doing questions anybody has.
Okay, who's first?
The money's still committed then, in spite of what you saw in the budget?
In spite of what we saw in the budget, I mean, we made it very clear to the governor's staff, and I had spoken to the governor myself over the weekend about this project and about the importance. And look, it's a, you know, I mean, $140 billion budget in terms of the state. Money gets moved around from time to time, and things can get, you know, reappropriated. But he understood that, told me, gave me his word that he would fix it. I had no reason to believe otherwise. In meeting with the staff today, it was made clear that anything less than $300 million does not allow MVHS to move forward. So their strong commitment was that they are committed to this project, to seeing it through, as the mayor and I have said. And so there's no reason for me to believe that that's not there. Now, specifically what will be put back in these 30 days, I can't tell you at this point, but that doesn't mean that the $300 million is not committed. And, you know, whether that's over a period of time, that's fine, as long as we know that it's committed and we know that that we have pieces in place to move this forward. And we're going to be meeting with the state health department and the governor's staff in the next couple of weeks to outline everything that's needed going forward in this year. If the $300 million, regardless, and projects get earmarked as such, but we know that, and Scott knows he's not going to spend $300 million in 1 year. That would be pretty amazing. But we're confident that this gets put back in place the right way.
Again, the key is what we're talking about is you're alluding to all the money. It's the project. The end result is what the governor is committed to. It's the end result of getting a state-of-the-art hospital in the downtown area. That's the most important thing at this point. He is committed to the project. And leaving that today, I think we all looked at each other much better with that than saying, we've got the $300 million. What about everything else? He's committed to the project.
Can you kind of explain how we kind of got into this situation?
I can't.
I wish we could.
I can't.
And we wouldn't.
Look, as someone, I mean, obviously our budget is much smaller, but we put together budgets. I've been putting them together for a number of years, as the mayor has. As I said, the state budget is in the billions, and you know, whether staff, you know, there's a miscommunication somewhere down the line and things get moved, and you know, whether, you know, how that happened. One of the things I said to one of the reporters last night was, look, you know, my goal was fixing the problem here, not the blame, not going back. And that's how we started the meeting today with the director of operations was, look, understood, something happened, we're here to move forward. How do we move it forward? As the mayor said, the commitment's there, we're going to fix this. The governor's exact words to me was, we'll fix this. And the governor has never, you know, gone back on his word to me and to this community when he said that specifically things were going to get done. I have no reason to believe otherwise. And like we said, meeting with the top officials from health, from the governor's operations, from the budget director, we're just finding a way to put this back in place. And however that works is fine. They know what's needed here to make this project work. And back to the commitment is there for the project. So we're good with that.
So when you go back to your office today, Mr. Farrar, what will you tell the people who are planning, working on the preliminary for a new hospital? Will they continue working?
Absolutely, yeah. So, to be honest with you, we never stopped. You know, this only came up at the radar screen a week ago, the 13th, I guess it was, when the budget was released. So we haven't stopped anything. You know, we were in constant, as I said, contact with all of our local elected officials, talking with Tony over the weekend. He had a conversation, as he said, with the governor on Friday, I think it was, Friday afternoon. So, you know, we're still moving forward.
And there's no decision yet whether you're going to be downtown in New Hartford?
Well, clearly from our perspective, as we've said all along, our preferred site is downtown. And so we're working through the process of looking at the funding for that and the cost structures and all those sorts of things. And that's part of this whole conversation of the meetings upcoming that Tony alluded to with the state and the officials.
Did the state officials today indicate to you whether that money or the commitment would still be there if for some reason you decided not to put it downtown? Is it tied to a downtown location?
I would say at this point, this whole duration, there was multiple sites, they came up with the site. We believe, as does the governor, the biggest impact we have for a state-of-the-art hospital is the most important thing. But then the sprinkling of that is the redevelopment and what it transforms the greater Utica area. And the downtown is the transformation of this region, along with nanotechnology, along with the north-south arterial, the thruway, all the other things, and again, the network of talking with other vendors, with other hospitals, with other end users at this point. I just think if you look at it, the best results are in the downtown region.
It comes down to, we made the case, and Scott knows where we've been on this all along, of the city of Utica itself. Obviously, the hospitals are located there within St. Luke's, which is really just on the border. However, an urban setting for a hospital is where there is the greatest need, where there is the greatest accessibility. So when we look at that, as the mayor said, I mean, the governor looks at it as the best recognize that. So while they didn't say we wouldn't get the money if it went anywhere else, they're committed to the project. The project is here. So that's what we're going to focus on. Anyone else?
The health department says that the reason the funding was reallocated in the first place was because the project was not being developed in a timely enough manner to do things.
Yeah, I think
I understand there's no timeline attached, so where does that come in?
Well, I think we clarified that today, and we met with the people who oversee the health department today. So I think they'll get a different story on that. I think there's some disconnect between the health department and the second floor and the administration. But there's been no shortage of information disseminated from either my office, the mayor's office, or Scott from MVHS. I think their story will be a little different because they got a complete overview today from us as to what's been done and what's been moving forward, and the amount of money that the hospital has spent and expended on this to date. Yeah,
To date, right?
to date. Yeah.
How much has the hospital spent?
About 500,000, various studies and consultants to get us to this point in time.
Does that include the work that the Mohawk Valley Edge did?
No, not including Mount Valley Edge, yeah.
Going with that, is there a timetable, I guess, for the public, because they want to know where is it going, when things will start moving forward? Is there a timetable, maybe, in you guys' head, where this is going?
Yeah, from my perspective, I think I've pretty consistently said second quarter of this year. So, in the next couple of months, we're going to be able to have enough information from our consultants to make a final determination. And at the same time, we'll be talking, obviously, with the state and all of our local people about, the timetables of getting all this put together. And remember, when we first announced this, I mean, it's a 5 to 6 year process, right? I mean, it's not some, to build a new hospital of 1 million square feet in 8 months is probably a little bit unrealistic. I think most people agree, so.
And that was a point we made today, too. When was the last hospital built
So
in
what-
New York
what's
State?
the wrap up in the second quarter?
Well, we're going to have a pretty good sense then of, location in all of our various funding sources, because the state money is a huge, critical, important piece, but, we're still going to borrow or bond for some additional funds. As well as we're working on some of that ourselves right now.
Project without
No.
And I made that point, Dan, I think I said that at the beginning, and I made that point today at the meeting. I made it very clear that if to everybody's point about the commitment of the state, that anything shy of $300 million from the state does not get this project done. And it was dismissed automatically and said they're committed to that, and that's why, we stand here committed and confident, believing, and working with them going forward for that commitment.
Just to keep on saying it, I know it's redundant, they're committed to the project. And I think that's what, if anybody walks away from here, understanding, you could put a dollar and cents on something, 300 million or whatever, they're committed to the project.
It hasn't been pulled out, so the plug is still in. I think that's probably a better way to put it, that you could say the plug never left the outlet. It's still
You say $300 million figure over how many years? Did that figure ever from the start?
No, it really, look, And the mayor or Scott has any, I mean, I did this before with the state in projects with economic development. You put a capital project, it's no different than the capital projects I put Belno Hall. I put in millions of dollars. We don't move that all in 1 year. I mean, it's I mean, especially when you're talking, and I move, you know, $5 or $10 million projects. They're moving a $300 million. So
600.
600 million. I'm talking on the state side.
Yeah.
So the point of it is, you know, I mean, you know, projects can move, you know, in that time period for that amount of money. So there's not a set time, as Scott said. You're not going to spend that 300 million in a year, and everybody's going to say, "Oh, you didn't spend it all. You only spent 299, so we got to take it back." It doesn't work that way. Money's, you know, money's committed to the extent of the project. I mean, if they don't, if nothing gets done, clearly, which goes back to the disconnect, if nothing gets done, that's a different story, but things are getting done, and things are moving forward, and both sides are committed.
Okay, now I
Okay,
understand.
now you're going
You
back
told
again.
the governor
The plug's
that
in, okay, yeah, you got that part, the plug's
I'm not
back
trying
in,
to
the
rip
plug
the
never
plug. I'm
left.
trying to make sure the plug doesn't come out.
Yes, okay.
You've told the governor you need $300 million to make this happen. The governor says he's committed,
Yes.
which says to you that, well, then the governor will get us the $300 million because our project doesn't. But at some point, and you're still continuing, at some point, when do you need to have an actual plan for how you're getting the $300 million?
Well, that will be all part of the wrapping this up in the second quarter. I mean, there's a whole lot of different things coming together. There's the siting piece, there's our financing piece, and I would hope that by the second quarter of this year, now that we've got, I think, everyone's attention down in Albany and certainly locally, that we can sit down over the next several weeks and start to plan all that out, and then we'll figure out from them, how does this get paid? Does it, because it impacts my financing. Do I get, you know, $60 million a year for 5 years? Do I get a $300 million check all at once? How all that's got to work, that will impact us, and so there's not discrete answers. They're all intertwined from our perspective.
But you'll see something from, you know, within, I believe, and the mayor's with me on this, as well as the Assemblyman and the Senate, that within the next 30 days, you know, prior to those amendments that have to be submitted for the budget, that you will see, you know, this some amount repurposed for a hospital here in Oneida County in that state budget. What that amount is at this time, I don't know. At the end of the day, or at the end of the period of time, it will be $300 million.
I guess I'm asking, when do you need to have it in writing when you're getting the $300 million, or when it's going to
Before we make that final announcement, that final decision sometime, hopefully right now in the second quarter of this year. So, you know, we're going to know, like I said, we're going to know that. The governor's been pretty good about getting his budgets done on time over the last
That's the other.
4 or 5 years around
That's
it. So
right.
in April,
Yeah.
we should have that finalized.
Sure.
We hope, and then we were able to put all the other pieces together.
Is there still a concern with the gap between the 300 million and what it would cost to build a hospital downtown?
Yeah. So those are all things.
Pointed there? No.
Yeah, so those are things that we've been working on and will continue to work on over the next several months, and that's why, you know, it's going to take us several more months before we come to that conclusion, because, again, the 300 million is critical, but if we can't figure out the rest of it either, and some of that's on us, from a bonding perspective and having lenders loan us the money, you know, it's going to take us a little bit of time to get that all put together. Because my board of directors is going on and say, okay, our best estimate right now is going to cost $575 million. Where's that all coming from, Scott? So I got to be able to show it to them and prove it to them.
Again, wait a minute, Amy, she raised her hand first.
sorry. How's the funding for parking garages going, since we didn't get the one grant?
Part of the project.
all the
I think
project.
it's all part of the project. We discussed that today. We talked about things that we could do in conjunction with that. I mean, those are things that are, you know, the side amenities of what's needed. You can't just build a hospital. That's wherever it is going to need parking and going to need, so.
Assembling
that's
the
part of
parcels,
that.
relocate, I mean, there's a lot of components
There's a
that
lot of pieces to
we're
it.
looking at.
Is the health system willing to take on the funding for the parking garage, though, or will that have to come from someone else?
We're looking for, you know, a different way to fund that, quite frankly.
Dan?
How does a new hospital make things any better for a patient, an inpatient, going to the new hospital, or going to what is now St. E's or St. Luke's, or a surgery patient?
Sure. And so, let's start with some of the amenities. So first of all, the new hospital built with all private rooms, right? I mean, if you've been an inpatient in either one of our facilities, you know you're probably sharing a room with somebody that you don't know. And so a lot of complaints that we get, and should let you know and do research in this on your own, but any new hospital's been built probably in the last 10 years in the country, because again, there hasn't been any in New York. They're all built with private rooms, which is also better for infection control issues from our perspective. We spend an enormous amount of resources transferring patients from floor to floor to room, because somebody doesn't like their roommate. We need a male bed because that's who's in the emergency department right now, but all we have is female beds, and so there's a lot of inefficiencies that we have in both our facilities. Remember that, you know, the baby in the group is St. Luke's. It's 60 years old pretty darn soon. And in 2017, St. Elizabeth's will be open for 100 years. And so both of those infrastructures are pretty old and pretty aged. And yes, we've done, you know, some patching and some painting and those sorts of things, but the skin and bones of those two organizations are pretty old. Other piece from our perspective is, as we came together as Mohawk Valley Health System, one of the things we wanted to do was come up with a clinical integration plan so that we weren't duplicating everything at both of our campuses that are, as you all know, a mile or so apart from each other. And so, St. Luke's, for example, is the stroke center. St. Elizabeth's is a trauma center. We've moved all the invasive cardiology things over to St. Elizabeth's. We've got plans to move other services between the campuses to create centers of excellence. And candidly, every day somebody's showing up at the wrong place, and so we've got to ship them across town to another facility. And so we think if we have one centralized location, built brand new, modern, it's going to have the right sizes, the right adjacencies within the buildings, and it's going to allow us to really recruit and grow some of our service lines. I mean, already, just on the, if I can say it this way, the hype of a potential new hospital, we're getting a lot more doctors interested in coming to the Mohawk Valley to start to maybe work with Mohawk Valley Health System.
Do you worry?
I worry all the time.
Do you worry about the impact of one large, modern, state-of-the-art hospital, what it does to, say, Rome or the United Hospitals?
No, because I think, over time, you're going to see us, as probably as well as others, cooperating with other hospitals. We've tried to bury the competitive hatchet, certainly in the direct Utica market, certainly with the affiliation of creation of Mohawk Valley Health System. But we're constantly already sharing patients back and forth between Oneida and with Rome, and we think those communities need and deserve a hospital. A larger regional system such as the Mohawk Valley Health System's new hospital can help support those cases that they can't take care of in their community hospital settings.
And don't we deserve the best hospital for the greater Utica region? Don't we deserve to have everything that Syracuse may have, or Albany? Do we have to travel outside to get some of the newer technology? I mean, this gives us an opportunity to frame ourselves as a leader in a region that for many years is, we've been chugging along, but this, again, with the commitment from the governor today, it steps us in a whole different direction with all the great things that are happening. We deserve it.
You told us it wasn't possible without the 300 million.
Right. I think the other thing, when you talk about one facility for this city, for its size, and then what's been taking place, and look, the uniqueness too is the fact that what once was 3 became, then 2 became 1, 3 now became 2, now become 1 again in terms of what took place in the last 2 years. I made the joke a while back going to a meeting at St. Elizabeth's, and I'm always late anyway, but I said I was late because I had a part at St. Luke's to go to St. Elizabeth's. But, so the point of it is, it's not only, obviously patients and patient care is number 1 for a hospital. I'm not trying to take that. But in terms of visitors, in terms of people going there, in terms of the whole aspect of access to a community hospital, one state-of-the-art center in the urban center of a city does more to help than anything else too. So I think those are the intangibles that come along with it as well. There was this part of it. Sure. There was the catalyst. The reason the reason that this appeared on the state's radar to inject the money in for a new hospital was because what was done here in Utica with Mohawk Valley Health Systems is something that this governor and others have been trying to do for years, is get them to merge and consolidate where they had these kind of settings. That's why we're here at this point, and that's another reason to the governor's commitment of continuing this, of investing in this, that this system has done what everybody's been talking about doing and what everybody wants to do in terms of consolidation and merging, merging the services. We good? Thank you all for coming.
Thank you.
We're gonna want one on one.
How are you? Good to see you again.
Anthony, how are you, sir?
So is this, Plan B now?
There's a problem.
How are you?
It'll be quick though.
No, that's
Get
okay.
it back. So, I'm a little. Yeah, you're not gonna panic.
Oh, the D.
No,
Surprised that it wasn't
I'm not.
specifically in here, that's why everybody got.
I mean, the commitment was on the project itself, I mean, the whole, and like I said, we can tell you this, tell you this off the record, because I don't want to put this way. I said, look, there's not going to be
We'll work out the money.
So, I mean,